Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Stuart McIntosh, and I will be chairing the meeting. Let me introduce you to my colleagues. We'll start at the end. Greg Jackno, he's an alternate. He will not be voting tonight, but I'm sure he'll be asking lots of questions. We've got John Brown, Marty Muir, Charlie Law, Janie Regan, and Kevin Doyle from the Village. All five of us will be voting tonight. Approvals require the consent of 3, so that constitutes a majority. Our first order of business is some housekeeping, and that is the approval of the minutes from the January 27th Zoning Board meeting. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so tonight we have 2 applications, 54 Parkway and the Iona University baseball field. We're going to start with 54 Parkway. Who is presenting, and please come up and introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Malinsky with SM Architecture Studio. I'm presenting on behalf of my clients. The whole family's here today. So they're the owners of 54 Parkway Road in the 2-family multiple residence B zoning district. We're requesting permission to construct an addition to their house to add a bedroom, suite, and attic space, as well as a deck at the back of the house. And they've explored all other avenues of achieving this space in the house. And this is the only option that we saw worked best. So currently the first floor of the house extends back further than the rest of the house. The addition would be above this, extending the second floor and the roof line back over that first floor area, creating additional square footage at the second floor for the bedroom suite and also at the attic. To make the attic space more functional, we would be adding dormers on either side. We're requesting 6 variances for this addition. The need for these variances is a direct result of the site's small lot size. So lots in the zoning district are required to be a minimum of 12,000 square feet. And this lot is only 20% of that at 2,403 square feet. So this small lot size creates the need for these variances. For gross floor area, this is entirely due to the underside square footage of the lot. We're not increasing the building footprint, though. We're just working within the existing footprint to maximize livable space for their clients and their growing children. For building height, we're not raising the ridge height, so the building height's not changing, but we do need a variance for stories. Because we're adding those dormers in the attic, it becomes a 3-story rather than the 2.5-story that it currently is. For building coverage, we're not increasing the footprint of the house at all, as I said. We're actually decreasing the current building coverage by 200 square feet because we're removing a patio that's at the back of the site. For side yard setbacks, we're extending the existing non-conforming side yard setbacks up to the second floor addition. And then at the attic, the dormers would actually sit in 6 inches further from the property line. On the site plan, you can actually see what's allowed with the side yard setbacks. It's a tiny little sliver in the center of the lot, which is only 1 foot wide. For rear yard setback, the house conforms with the rear yard setback, but the variance is for the new deck that we're requesting. But this deck is only about 2 feet above grade, so it has no impact on neighboring properties. And the last variance is for usable open space. So the zoning law requires a minimum dimension for usable open space of 40 feet. And this lot is only 20 feet wide. So the backyard doesn't count at all because it doesn't meet that dimension. But if you base this on square footage alone, not on the 40-foot required dimension, the open grass space in the backyard is actually 660 square feet, which is actually more than what is required of the 400 square feet. And we're increasing that from what it currently is because we're removing a patio and a shed that's currently in the backyard. The addition will not appear significant from the street, as most of the front facade remains as is. The only visible section of the addition from the street will be the attic dormers. You can kind of see in that rendering in the bottom left. There are many houses on the street that have similar dormers, therefore the house stays in character with the neighborhood. Also, I included some photos of other similar properties on the street that also do not meet these zoning requirements due to their small lot sizes. As far as side yard setback, gross floor area, height, a lot of them go 3 stories, and also the usable space because the lots aren't even 40 feet wide. The Metro North Rail line borders the back of the property, so there are no implications of the addition there. And the adjacent properties, there are no windows on the houses on either side that would be directly across from the new addition. And included in the paperwork are letters from both of these adjacent neighbors stating that they support the addition that we are requesting. So we feel there are no adverse effects to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community, but the benefits to this growing family would be significant for my clients. You guys want to add anything? You have any questions?
Could you walk through carefully and slowly?
Sure.
Even I get it. What's going on in the back in terms of the extension? And then
Sure.
the
Sorry,
second
that doesn't
question
show
I
up
had
too well
was-
up there.
Second question I had was, what's the need for the expansion, the over 100% expansion in the attic? Is there a different use for that? So if you could answer those 2 questions, that would help me understand what's going on.
Sure. I apologize for how that looks up there. But as you can see on the bottom right, that hatch back area is what's being added. So that on the first floor, it extends to the same line, and we're just extending the second floor and the existing roof line back. And that's to add a master suite in that area. And then in the attic.
Yeah, do you have this thing that you could
Yeah,
put
I
up?
was just gonna ask, can you bring
Because
up
I
that?
really
photo?
can't.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, and then maybe use the pointer and,
no, the back view,
yeah.
the back view. May I ask a question just specifically about that? Because this looks like an optical illusion. That width is the same as the rest of the house, correct?
Yes.
Because it's on the plans the same, but it doesn't look that way.
Correct.
So your extension is going to be the same width, and leaving the dormers aside for the moment, you would have a peaked roof if on that part of the house?
Correct.
It would match whatever the rest of the house is.
Correct. We're basically just pulling that second floor and attic space that you see there out to where that first floor ends.
Okay, and you're taking out that patio?
Yeah, right now they have a very small raised concrete porch and then patio lower. So we're removing both and putting in a bit wider deck, a bit deeper of a deck, and removing the patio space, so that's all green.
What's the material for the deck? Is it concrete? Is it wood?
Like a Trex, it's a wood or
Porous.
wood composite deck. Yeah, porous.
So is the patio being removed or just shortened?
The patio is being removed, and that's just green space.
What is the use of the attic going to be?
Family room, right? Yeah, it's really just additional square footage for a family room, and a portion of it we had designated for office space.
You have space now that's used for office?
No, as you could see in the first floor plan, it's, it's a small house. And on the second floor, on the first floor, you have a small living room, dining room, and kitchen.
Wasn't that office on the 3rd floor already?
Oh, currently, yeah.
In the plans, there's an office on the 3rd floor.
Oh, existing. So they have a very tight attic at the moment.
So again, just focus on the attic, and this is also to get back to Marty's question. It looks like the current square footage is about 250 250-odd square feet in the attic. You've got a dormer, I believe, which faces north.
Mhm.
You have a staircase. So again, what is that space? Because I think in the application, it talked about it being used as an office space. And it would appear 250 square feet is plenty of space for an office with a dormer.
Sure. So the front half of it we had shown as office space. You can see here on the last floor plan there is the attic. So the front part we are designating as office space, and then the rest of it, open for family room, for the kids, extra hangout space. They both are going to have very small bedrooms, as you can see on the second floor there, because we're trying to get in that third bedroom. So it's just, additional space for kids and hang out.
So I'm just confused as to where the 345 square feet out on the third floor.
For the attic.
Is that going back?
So we are extending it, above that first floor. So we're gaining that square footage. But because of the dormers, we're gaining ceiling height. So you're gaining more of the footprint.
So you have a very steep
Yes.
ceiling, and what
Currently,
the
it's-
dormers are going to do is going to flatten that ceiling? Is that what I'm
Correct.
seeing?
Yes.
Okay. And then is there going to be any plumbing up to that level, or what's?
No plumbing, that just electric. Oh, but actually, we are doing the sprinklers. So because we're going to the third floor, we have to add sprinkler system. So there will be plumbing for the sprinkler system.
So there will be plumbing for the
Sprinklers?
sprinkler? Oh, yeah, right, okay.
So the dormers are 30 feet long on each side? That's almost the length of the whole story, right? Isn't that almost? That's a good
So you can
portion
see
of-
there on the
That's a
third
good
floor,
portion,
it
yeah.
cuts back from the front. So we didn't want to, I didn't want the dormers coming up right at the front facade so that you didn't see it as much from the street.
But if you see the side photo, how about the side elevation? See them on our side elevation.
Yeah, so the dormer is about 30 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you can see
It's
the
almost
dormers
whole
from the
roof
side.
line.
That's pretty much the whole roof line.
So the roof line with these kind of dormers, it will still remain a peaked roof line, or will it come up quite a bit? Because you've got it on both sides.
Yeah, it's hard to see the roof plan on the screen, but you could see what the roof plan looks like there. And this, it's relatively flat there on the top, so it will be an EPDM roof. And as I stated, there's a lot of houses on this street with similar conditions. I included some of the photographs.
Right.
The neighbors that wrote letters of support, where are they in relation to this house?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh, the neighbors who wrote letters of support, where are they in relation to this house?
Yeah, they're on either side. So they're the most impacted, obviously.
Could you go back to that schematic of the, showing the, there? So I'm looking at the middle schematic, and are those in the dark area, is that those are the dormers, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it almost looks like what you're taking is a traditional roof line and making it a flat roof with these huge dormers. And is that rendering down on the left supposed to be what it's going to look like?
Correct.
Because to me, it doesn't look even close in terms of the visual. So could you address that? Because clearly up above, those are quite large.
So it's hard to tell from the front elevation up above where those sit because they do sit back, as you can see on the plan and on the side elevation. So that's, how it then looks like the rendering in the bottom left corner. That front elevation makes it feel like they're right in front. And you're seeing, the full roof line, but from the street, you're looking up at it. So it will look like more like that schematic.
But again, it's essentially flattening the roof with dormers of that size.
I mean, it's not flat, but it's close.
Right.
And you could see the slope on that side elevation.
And so those dormers, you said, don't look into anyone's, a neighbor's window, but if you look, are now looking down on the bottom left, that house, from your third floor, you're going to be looking right into their dormer windows, which is not consistent with what you said in the beginning of your presentation. I believe you said that you would not be looking
We have a-
into, because those houses are very close together.
They have a dormer on that side? The neighbors have a dormer on that side? Okay. Okay, so I apologize. I guess they do have a dormer at the attic level, but in the portion we're extending into the backyard above that first floor, there's nothing directly across that whole
Right.
portion.
Did you consider doing the second floor extension without also extending the whole attic? Or was this always part of the plan to make second and third floor?
I mean, their need is for extra square footage, so it just seemed to make sense to add some square footage there as well and just carry that existing roof line back.
Or let me ask the question differently. Did you look at different designs for the attic to preserve I'll call it the aesthetics of the roof line of the existing house? Or was this basically the plan you're going with? You didn't look at alternatives?
Well, we looked at different sizes of dormers, but ultimately, this gives them the most square footage up there because it gives you the most headroom, ceiling height to maximize that space. But we did, bring it back, from the front and back so it's not obtrusive from the street. And like I said, there are many houses very similar on that street because they do have the small lots. They're trying to maximize what they can.
Are there existing dormers right now? Can you show that?
So there's one, you can kind of see it there on the bottom. It's basically to give headroom to the stair. Can you see it there?
It's on the north side. Can you see it, Greg?
Yep.
It's very small. It's really just to give you headroom as you're coming up the stairs.
And how much it extrudes out, the new dormers, how will it size up in relation?
I'm just looking at that existing attic plan. That was 11 feet 6 long, and we're going up to 30 feet 7. But again, we're extending the whole roof back as well. So, we're extending the whole roof back 12 feet.
So I guess where the dormer sticks out from the front roof line, does that distance out to the exterior wall, is that the same distance? Basically, the height of the dormer, how much it sticks out from the roof, that's going to stay the same? And it just extends?
Correct. I think we are going a little higher. I'm trying to think. I mean, it's similar at the ridge. And as I said, we're also stepping those attic dormers in 6 inches from the exterior sidewall. So it's not right in line. And they sit back 5 feet from the front facade. That's why I did that rendering, because it's, the elevations, it's hard to understand the depth of that, but it sits 5 feet back from the front.
Does your proposal require any fire escapes?
No fire escape, so we are required to do the sprinklers in the attic and then along the means of egress to the to the front door. And those windows will, be emergency egress windows sized for that.
I guess the problem I have, and I've done this for over 10 years, is I really don't, when we usually have an expansion of over 100% on a floor, there's usually a description or a specific slide or picture that really explains how you're picking up that. It can't be just that the roof is flatter, right? Because you got the same footprint on the baseline. So are you pushing back? Let's say you have built the second floor. Are you pushing also the third floor back? Is that where you're picking up that extra
Correct.
square footage?
Yes, that whole second floor and roof gets pulled back that 12 feet
Okay,
above
so-
that first floor.
So the second floor gets pushed back 12 feet, so it's flush with the first floor.
Correct.
And then what you're doing is on the third floor, are you matching that same pushback?
Correct.
Another 12 feet? Okay. And then along that line, so you got a much bigger third floor.
Right.
And then you're putting dormers on there so that you get proper lighting with the extra distance.
Yeah, okay, because you can see where
Correct.
Marty.
Okay, sorry about that, but
But no,
I
I
just
that
wasn't
too.
getting it.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out how you.
Yeah, that whole hatched area is what we're adding. So we're basically taking the existing second and floor attic roof and just pulling it all the way back to that first floor.
And then when I'm looking from the street at the house, noting that I'm, the back part is expanding, am I looking at the same picture of the roof line, looking at it from the front, or are you leveling off that front part to, I would call it more like a barn look than a A-frame look? Is that what we're
No,
saying?
that the front and the back are the same. Will look the same with
So it'll
the new roof line and the dormer.
So you'll have the single window up there on the third floor, and it will look exactly the way it looks now, if I were to look at that. And I didn't see what you're doing in the back.
In the front, you're asking? Yeah, so the front stays the same. We are increasing the size of those 2 bedroom windows on the second floor to make them egress windows. But otherwise, that front portion stays as is. It's just the dormers that are added, and they're 5 feet back from that front face.
So when I'm looking at that A-frame and you're leveling off the roof, are you taking that roof down and expanding it like this? Or is it just staying the same and you're working it back and all the changes are on the sides or in the back?
Yeah, the front, it stays the same. It stays as is. Sorry. Sorry, so at the front, yes, it stays like this. That goes back 5 feet, and that's when the dormers pull up to add that headroom in the attic.
Okay.
Okay, so to the right, that is a rendering of what the back of the house will look like? Is that,
The rendering in the bottom left?
no, top right?
Oh, yes, that is the back elevation. The hatched area represents the new portion, there on the bottom. That's the existing first floor. We are changing the doors out. But then above that is, new.
But you can see, I'm getting back to what my earlier comment, whether you're looking at the front of the house or the back of the house, to me, it looks like a flat roof. Or, and I'm asking any of my colleagues here, or am I just looking at this incorrectly?
I'm assuming the peak on the back elevation on the one on the right, that's just molding, right? There's no depth there?
Oh, it sits back with the dormers sit back 5 feet on both sides. You can see that on the side elevation.
Sit toward the road on that side and then on the other side. Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at the side elevation. So as you can see on the side elevation, the dormers, they both start in 5 feet from the front, from the facades, because I didn't want it to look, I didn't want that to look like a flat roof from the front facade or the back facade. So I'm pulling it in
Oh, I
5
see.
feet.
Okay.
And that's why, then the rendering, you can kind of see what it would look like, because from when you're, at street level looking up, you don't even perceive it like that.
Okay. No, I'm now seeing it because those dormers are not flat across. They also go up,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, I wanted to add a little extra
So
interest with
that's,
that.
okay. All right. Oh, okay. All right, let me open it up to the public. Any questions, comments by anyone on this project? All right, well, let me ask my colleagues before we go to a resolution, any more questions? You guys? Janie? Yeah, I'll come to that. Anything else, Jane? Jenny? Okay.
Maybe just one last one. You spent so much time on the third floor. The second floor, could you just restate the use of this second floor versus what's there now?
Sure. So here's the current second floor. There's 2 small bathrooms and 2 small bedrooms and a bathroom. And here's the proposed. So in the front of the house, we're dividing that space into 2 small bedrooms, and then in the back, where we're adding on the additional square footage, will be a bedroom, bathroom, the other bathroom, which we're moving, and then a small laundry closet. So as you can see, these are small bedrooms in the front, so that's why the additional square footage at the attic space is very helpful to the family.
Oh. Sorry, is there a question for anyone?
No, do you have any questions for Ashaki about how they came up with the calculations and all that?
No. You have any questions, Kevin?
No, she's here, I just figured.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to sort of pull this application apart. We're going to vote on the second floor addition and the variance side of that, and then we're going to hold a second vote on the attic,
Okay.
okay? So
What about the extension out in the back?
the extension is both tied to the second floor and the attic.
Oh, no,
What?
that.
The deck. Well, that is tied, that would be tied to the second floor.
A separate variance?
Yeah, but that's going to be included when we vote on the second floor addition. That includes the deck, okay? And the variance tied to that, okay? So let me propose a resolution that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant to the residents of 54 Parkway Road the following variances related to the second floor addition. Okay. For the second floor addition and the deck, we have section 310-22E. The maximum FAR permitted is 0.49. The existing FAR is non-conforming at 0.646. The proposed FAR is 0.734, requiring a variance of 585 square feet or 0.244 FAR. The proposed addition equates to a 13.5% increase over existing FAR and a 49% increase over permitted. Section 310-11F, the maximum building coverage is 25%. Existing is non-conforming at 52.4%. Proposed is 44%, requiring a 19% variance equating to 210 square feet of additional coverage. Section 310-11(3), the maximum rear yard setback is 30 feet, proposed is 23.25 square feet, requiring a 6.75 variance. The property is non-conforming to two other required variances, though no change is being proposed. Section 310-11D2, existing property side yard setbacks, 10.54 feet and 5.92 feet. And section 310-11E, existing properties usable open space is 400 square feet less than permitted. Okay. So let me start with you, John. Your thoughts.
As to that variance, I am in favor of it. I do not believe it creates a adverse effect or impact on the neighborhood. And I also believe, due to the nonconformity of the properties there in the lot, I think
Okay. Charlie?
This this particular variance won't change the character of the neighborhood. I believe that it's substantial, but it isn't as significant because you already have one floor and you're just going up a floor. So for that reason, I'm in favor of this variance.
Okay. Janie?
I also vote in favor. I think that, given the properties and what you have to deal with, you have to go up. Yeah, I think that that's.
And Marty?
I approve for the various reasons that have already been presented.
Okay. And I agree with my colleagues on this. So this variance is approved. Okay, so let us propose a second resolution to the residents of 54 Parkway Road, the following variance relating to the attic addition. Section 310-22E, the maximum FAR is 0.49, existing FAR is 0.646. The proposed attic increases the FAR to 0.79, resulting in a 24% increase over existing FAR and a 63% increase over permitted FAR. Section 310-11B, maximum building height is 2.5 stories. Proposed is 3 stories. And then we have the two variances tied to the non-conforming nature of the lot, where no change is being proposed. Section 310-11D2, existing property side yard setbacks exceeds by 10.54 feet and 5.92 feet. And section 310-11E, existing properties usable open space is 400 square feet less than permitted. Marty, let me start with you.
I struggle with this one because you have the second floor, which I think is important for the family and the need for the house. The third floor seems to be a matter of convenience. And so when I see the magnitude of change, over 100% expansion, I think that that's kind of goes beyond the red face test. And so therefore, I'm not in favor of the variance.
Okay. Charlie, your thoughts?
This one is more difficult for me as well. First of all, I believe that again, substantial, but this one is much more significant because it shows in all angles, from the street, from the side, from the back, everywhere. It's never a compelling argument to me to say that because other houses in the neighborhood have, similar characteristics that may have been added 50 years, 100 years ago, in Bronxville, maybe even more. And I just believe that this will change the character of the neighborhood by, at the very least, adding one more addition that's not all that architecturally pleasing, at least not to me. For that reason, I'm going to vote no on this variance.
Janie?
I'm going to agree with my rest of your colleagues as well. There's an issue we have here, other than the fact that you're just making the third floor quite a bit larger. On the zoning board, we always have to be concerned with precedent. And we can say everyone in this neighborhood has this, but then they can come back eventually, and everybody's going to, can't always set a precedent. It's going to be okay all around the village for similar properties or bigger properties. So given your constraints, I'm sorry that that's the case, but I think the owners bought it knowing this size, and I think it's going to get substantially bigger. So as far as that third floor goes,
John?
Similar to my colleagues' positions, I agree with them, and I'm in favor of the variance. The second variance.
Okay, and I also agree with my colleagues. To reiterate, this does set a really difficult precedent for the village of Bronxville, this type of addition. So that really is a unanimous no to the second variance. Thank you.
Can I ask for a clarification?
Sorry?
Can I ask for a
Oh, sure.
clarification?
Yeah.
So can we pull the roof all the way back? Like as we're pulling that second floor back, can that attic space be added? Just carrying the existing roof all the way back? Without the dormers, is what I'm saying.
I can't answer that question.
Does the application need to be revised?
you need new drawings.
Well, you would have to, first of all, you'd have to come back with a new application. And let's not forget, this is triggering an FAR, which will need to go to design review and planning board. Now, normally it goes to them first, but given their scheduling, it came to us first. So you've really got to take that into consideration.
Because I'm just trying to understand what was approved with the attic, because, like it's pulling that full back portion all the way back. So is that what was approved? And it's just not the dormers?
No, it was the attic in whole was turned down.
So I have to change the roof line in the back, is what you're
Correct.
saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Iona, and who will be presenting?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Annie Klein. I'm an associate at Del Bello, Denellen, Weingarten, Wise, and Whitaker. I'm here tonight on behalf of Iona University and its Bronxville campus, and specifically the portion of the campus located at 182 White Plains Road, which houses Stein Hall and the campus and some of the campus's athletic facilities. With me this evening is Mike Smariglio, Susan Fiore, Matt Glavaski, Richard Murray, and Joe Castaldo, all from Iona. And I have Cindy Reynolds with the computer in the front and Mike Tucker from Langen Engineering here as well. So as you may know, Iona acquired the Concordia College campus in January of 2022 after Concordia ceased operations in fall of 2021. Iona is a private Catholic coeducation institution with its main campus in New Rochelle. Since its acquisition of the Bronxville campus, Iona has invested substantially in the campus, making it the home of Iona's New York Presbyterian Iona School of Health Sciences, Its flagship educational facility features a state-of-the-art Kelly Center for Health Services. The campus also includes ample space for performing arts and athletic facilities. Iona is a member of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference and participates in NCAA Division I athletics. The portion of the campus that is the subject of this application, as I said, is located at 182 White Plains Road, which is located on the east side of White Plains Road at its intersection of White Plains Road and Rose Avenue. It consists of approximately 9 acres and is developed with a baseball field, related baseball facilities, Stein Hall, which houses Concordia Conservatory, the Meyer Athletic Center, several tennis courts, and related parking and infrastructure. Iona is currently seeking site plan approval from the Planning Board and several area variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals to permit overall facility improvements to bring the facilities to NCAA Division I athletic standards. Cindy has a great presentation for you. I'm just gonna run through what we're seeking generally. We're seeking to level the field, upgrade the dugouts, add a bullpen, and upgrade the press box, incorporate seating for 135 with 6 wheelchair accessible seating areas, add a scoreboard, and provide accessibility from the parking area adjacent to the Meyer Center to the field and spectator areas, as well as adding safety netting, outfield fence, and a warning track. We began reviewing the proposed improvements to the athletic facilities with the village in 2024, and a formal application was filed with the Planning Board in December of 2024. Since that time, we have been working diligently with village professional staff and consultants and the Planning Board to address their comments. In September 2025, we amended our application to include the tennis courts on the property to incorporate additional stormwater management systems. The proposed stormwater system now incorporates additional detention systems to reduce overall runoff from the property, including the existing parking area, the Meyer Center roof, and the tennis courts, resulting in a reduction of runoff from the property to the Crawford Street system by an average of 70% for 3 storm events. We're also providing higher fencing in the outfield as requested by the Planning Board in response to public comments. There is no field lighting proposed. All games will happen during daylight hours. We are proposing some security lighting in the field and along the pathways that will just be for security. So Iona's baseball program operates in 2 main segments. The fall segment runs from late August through early November, weather permitting, and is for fall practice season. During this time, the team primarily practices and may play 1 to 2 home exhibition games. In the spring segment, this is the primary competition season with home games taking place from mid-March to mid-May. There are typically 16 to 22 home games played during this stretch. In the spring 2025 season, there were 19 home games with an average attendance of 87 spectators. Iona provides a shuttle for its students from the New Rochelle campus to baseball. The Planning Board, acting as lead agency for environmental review of the project and all related actions under SECRA, adopted a negative declaration of environmental significance for the project on February 11th, 2026. So no further action is required by the Zoning Board under SECRA. As you can see from our materials, this application requires several area variances from your board. Cindy's presentation will walk you through some of the variances and where they're located on the property. We respectfully submit that although the number of requested variances may seem like a lot, none of them individually are substantial. Many of these variances are related to the existing conditions on the property, including the location of the baseball field and the related facilities, and then also some below grade retaining walls and fences which will not be visible from the street. The applicant has thoughtfully designed the project to upgrade and improve the field for its students while providing the necessary accommodations within the existing property constraints. We note that Concordia College operated at the property since 1910, and the athletic facilities have existed on the property for many years and are in much need of upgrading and improvement. As stated, we have worked tirelessly with village professional staff and consultants and the planning board to address the public concerns and eliminate impacts from the project. When undertaking the balancing test, the benefit to Iona and granting these variances outweighs any detriment to the community. You have our materials in the record. I'm happy to go into greater detail if you would like, but I'd like to turn it now over to Cindy to walk you through the actual improvements on the field. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Reynolds. I'm a landscape architect with the SLAM Collaborative. Happy to be here this evening. So I would like to go back to basics a little bit on this. I'm not sure how much folks have seen of this project as it moved through the planning board process, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with where we landed in terms of some design changes, the goals here, why we're doing this, and what we think it will look like. And then, of course, as Annie mentioned, the variance list to help identify what those mean. So we'll pretend that that's all the way on the screen. The project driver, so why we're doing this project. Iona has, as Annie mentioned, plays in the NCAA Division I set of games. I apologize, I forgot that term. But they, in order to facilitate those games, there's certain standards that the facility needs to meet. They're not very extensive, but there are some pretty basic ones that we feel we can provide here. So first is a level field, and this is a matter of player safety as well. Just a moment, there we go. So right now the field slopes up. This is White Plains Road at the top. So this is all sloped outfield and then a leveled infield. So that's one area of improvement that's needed. Improving security. Right now there's a low chain link fence which surrounds the field, which does not do a very good job of keeping folks off of it. So it's difficult for the staff to, make sure that when they need people not on the field, that they're not on the field. So that's something that we would like to address. General upgrades. So these are things that the field has already that we are going to provide. The dugouts and seating. So, and I apologize, press box and bullpen they don't have already. Dugouts and seating, there are some kind of mobile bleachers that are on site that are out near Rose Avenue. They're about in this area here, and those are just kind of plopped on the outside of the fence. And then there's dugouts down in the infield along with a shed. So we're looking to provide renovated new dugouts. Press box and bullpen are two items which Division I facilities need to have in order to meet the requirements for that division. The press box does not need to be large or complicated, and it does not mean that they're inviting media vans. It's used to film the games, and the announcers would be able to sit there. Coaches can also have an assistant coach go up there to get a different view of the field to help with their analysis. Bullpen is something that right now you can see there are a couple spots off to the side so that the pitchers can warm up. They're very informal. We would like to provide some more formalized bullpen areas for the pitchers to do their warm-ups. Scoreboards. Concordia did have a scoreboard on top of the Meyer Athletic Center, which I believe has been removed at this point. It is still there. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
We would like
There was
to
a scoreboard
remove
there.
it.
Is it going to be the same place or?
Well, we will relocate it to a more appropriate spot for the field. I'll show you that in just a moment. A batter's eye, and what that is it's a dark screen at the far end of the center field. And it's designed so that the batter can better see the ball as it's coming towards them. And then accessibility is quite a challenge with this existing facility. It is not accessible. There's not an accessible walk to get over to the seating. The seating is not accessible, and there's not appropriate site lighting to be able to light an accessible route. So those are some of the challenges that we're looking to resolve. This is a 3D view of the proposed field. So I'd like to go through this kind of one by one and for what we're providing. So the safety netting and outfield fence. We're proposing safety netting around the entire perimeter of the field. Along White Plains Road, the back of center field, and then along left field, we are proposing a 40-foot safety netting. So the 30 feet of that will be, and that's 40 feet as measured from home plate, just to be clear. So if you're standing at home plate, the top of the netting will be 40 feet above your head. 30 feet of that distance will be padding along a retaining wall, and the retaining wall will enable us to flatten the field. So you'll have the field flattened, we'll have 8 feet of retaining wall with padding, and then there will be another section of netting which serves as outfield fence. Because of the configuration of this property, it's going to be a foreshortened field, so the runs down first baseline and third baseline are not as long as you would typically see on a baseball field. So to accommodate that, we are proposing the outfield fence, which would be higher, so it would be 30 feet up as seen from home base. And then we're saying an additional 10 feet for straight safety netting. So the outfield line would be at 30 feet up, safety netting above that. At this corner, in response to concerns raised by the planning board and the community, we are adding another 5 feet to that, so that the alley along first baseline is actually at 45 feet as opposed to 40. So that became taller through the planning board process. There will be also a foul pole, which will be part of the system at each baseline. So the dugouts, we are proposing a new dugout for both teams. There will be raised seating and press box. So this area here, as opposed to having the seating along Rose Avenue, we're consolidating it to behind home plate. So the press box will be elevated, and I have some diagrams to clarify what this is going to look like for you. But there will be an elevated press box and then bleachers seating that are to either side and then just in front of it. So we can look at that in a few minutes. The bullpens, we're looking to take one of the tennis courts and convert it into bullpens. So we need to provide access down to those, and those will be fenced in with an 8-foot chain link fence. The scoreboard, we're locating here just left of center field. It's on the ball field side of the existing parking area that's up top, so it's set off from the existing building that's there, and will be tight to the top of the wall and the netting. The batter's eye is this dark gray patch you see here. We're proposing a windscreen, which is a permeable material, so it will be more opaque than the netting, but light will still get through a little bit, but the wind will go right through it. So we don't need to provide additional structural support and for that aspect. And then the other important piece that we're providing is this warning track, which is simply a strip of the ball field clay that goes around the perimeter of the field as literally a warning, so that if the players are backing up to catch a ball, they have a heads up they're about to run into something. So with that all said, we have some design images to share just to give you a sense of what this is going to look like. So this is looking at the back of the press box, looking up. See here the existing road condition. We just took a Google Earth screenshot. It's current with what it looks like now, except it has leaves. So you can see there's a connecting walk, there's an existing chain link fence, and the dugouts and shed are kind of tucked up there at field level. And there's quite a bit of grade change between the field level and these tennis courts. So what we're showing here is the press box, which is going to be raised up. And then this would be the seating. So what you're seeing here is where the seating is. And we're putting windscreen at the back of those so that you won't be looking into the back underside of the seating. It'll be screened from the right of way, from the roadway. We are putting an extra little section of surface underneath the press box. It's going to be open under the press box, so we want to incorporate some plantings underneath it at that higher level to help break this up, and then plantings at the bottom of the wall to help soften that condition.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the previous, the sidewalk didn't go all the way up to White Plains Road. Is this one, it looks like it does. How far does the sidewalk go up?
Here, let me go to. So what you're seeing is this section of the sidewalk.
Okay, so it's only going up,
Yeah,
okay.
it goes up here. And this is to provide a more accessible route. It is going along Rose Avenue, so we have to work with whatever grade the curb is at. But we're able to get a more accessible route for the ball
That's-
players.
To resolve the disability, the access or just general access.
General access, but
A
we.
ramp?
For the other team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so
Not
this
for the
is-
team.
so this-
Not for the
It's the
spectators.
visitors.
Right.
So my question is, we have obviously, we deal with the variances, and this overview is helpful for context. But when you look at the sidewalk and we're talking about variances and distances, when you're looking at these variances, is the variance to the sidewalk or is the variance to the road?
The variance is to the property line.
Okay, and where's the property line as opposed to the curb of the road?
So you can see on this graphic, this yellow line is the property line. So you can see that sidewalk will be in the right of way.
Okay, so the sidewalk is further away from the property line towards Rose Avenue.
It's along the curb line of Rose Avenue.
Okay, maybe show the other next page rendering, just so I can, so tell me, maybe you want to point it out, but tell me where you think the property line is, because I'm trying to figure out how far the variances are from where we're measuring. If it's, have a different view, if it's 1.8 feet from the road versus 1.8 feet
From the property line.
from the property line. So the property line, so the sidewalk is not in your property.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So is the property line that dot? Is that what you're showing there? Or is it, are you just,
Approximately? Yeah, so this fence here is just inside the property line.
oh, okay.
So it's a little tough with my, to not perfectly steady hands to show it approximately there.
So there's more than 2 feet to the road, so someone.
Yeah, I just wanted to,
And I do have some graphics a little bit later where we look at exactly what those distances are, so you'll be able to see that more
Okay.
clearly in plan view.
then secondly, on the seating, what is the protection in case somebody falling back and on the sidewalk or whatever? What is that?
So there is a fall protection fence at the top of the seating. It's going to be a simple black picket fall protection fence.
Is there some standard that you must have
Yes.
achieved that's been for safety?
Yes, it's 42-inch safety fence that will be integrated with the seating system. Of course. So this is a view looking in the other direction from the corner of Rose Avenue and White Plains. So you can see the taller section of the netting is here. And then we are showing the 40-foot height going down left field to approximately this location. And again, I can show you that on the plan when we get there. It's just for the distance that we have a retaining wall. which is approximately 130 feet. So we're looking to capture as many balls as we possibly can. Right now, the fence that there is only 20 feet high, so and there's not, to our understanding, been any injuries caused by baseballs going out of field. So we feel like this will be ample protection.
Has that changed from the original
Yes.
plan? Because I know there were several issues which we'll talk about, but
Yes.
that was one of them.
That was one
That
of
was
them.
a big
yes.
community issue.
So we in the last iteration, this post was where the 40-foot ended. So, and then this section here, we had at the 20-foot height, which is what we have going down the rest of left field. So this whole 130-foot section, we're saying we'll raise it up an extra 20 feet to help mitigate that safety concern.
What's the distance from home plate to center field, to right field, left field,
To
and right center, left center?
We got you, didn't
Yeah, we
we?
got
Oh, I've almost got this. Hold on. To center field, we have the full 400, which is recommended.
How much?
400 feet
400?
Yes.
along center field.
Center field.
And then along,
Right field?
see, now I'm wondering if I have, look what I found.
Fenway Park, short right
All right.
field porch.
There you have
is
it.
it,
So we're getting a little ahead of ourselves
Yeah.
with my variant sketch, but this is where we have these written down. So
Oh, this
center
is good.
field is 400 feet. You can see to the first base foul pole, we have 300 feet, which is about 25 feet shorter than we would really want, hence putting up the outfield fence the way that we have. Left field, we were able to get up to 325 feet, so that's right where we want it to be. And then we do have a bit of an odd configuration to the outfield wall in left field because we were trying to maintain the existing parking area as much as possible. There's some stormwater treatment up in that parking area we're maintaining. So we did a little bit of a notch into the field because of that.
So when you decided on a 20-foot, I get the 40 feet. 20-foot height, was there a analysis done of, the way it is now, they have a cage around the batter's box, that's no longer there. So it falls out, not good. Did you look at, was there a study done about projections that made that 20-foot safe for cars going up and down roads? Why you can, but long drives are probably a little. So how was the analysis, how was it settled on 20?
So field standards are what we use for the most part. So the backstop does have safety netting around it, which is the full 40 feet. So that protects the spectators and the press box. The 20 feet along the sides are what we would typically see for safety netting provided in close proximity to roads and whatnot. So a
Who's
specific
typical?
study, no.
When you say typical, what is it?
So-
I'm trying to think of the physics of this,
We did not do a trajectory study
okay?
to determine the 20 feet.
Okay.
So we have experts on our team who work on ball fields around the country, and we consulted with them. We did speak with the manufacturers of these systems and consulted with them, like what do you typically see on these D1 fields, what's appropriate for these conditions, and that's what this was the conclusion that we came to.
We asking questions now, or can I mean?
I think, yeah.
I have a very general question, and you may not be able to answer this, but I'm assuming Iona currently plays in the Metro Athletic Conference, right? Where are the baseball games being played now, and what was the reasoning for moving it to Bronxville from the New Rochelle campus?
So
Yeah,
I can
I
answer the
thought
first
maybe-
part
Yeah,
while
okay.
you take the mic. So they currently play at a public park.
I didn't know that.
And the reasoning, Mike Smerglio, if you would be so kind.
Hi, Mike Smirglio, Iona University. So we do play at Flowers Park in New Rochelle, City Park it's called. Uh, Not having a field of our, we're using this field daily for practice. So that became our baseball hub. But to not have a field that we call our own, where we have a baseball field on a new campus that we purchased, just we felt we wanted to make a better opportunity for our team, for our players, and for our staff, because it's in our backyard
You
now.
don't have the space in the shop.
No, we don't.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's the answer. Thank you.
And in terms, if I may,
Yeah.
Of course.
in terms of the baseball studies
Mhm.
and the trajectory, the 20-foot fence on right field is really, you're not going to stop a sharp foul ball high pop, but you will stop those sharp line drives that can be crushing to someone walking out in the road or out on our turf field right across. To justify internally what we have done in terms of fence heights, we have every batted ball on that site for practice is captured in something called TrackMan. And Matt Glabowski, our athletic director, does have that data, possibly may have it with him tonight, where he can review it with the board.
They have that in golf too. I just said,
What's
yes,
that saying?
exactly. I was just
Saying?
playing golf down in Florida, yeah.
So we're tracking where the balls are hit, the speed of the balls off the bat, and just mapping them out on the field every day.
Well, and also as approved, it brings more of Iona significance into the Bronxville campus too. So that's a benefit to the school, I think. And
Thank
okay,
you.
thank you. That's helpful.
Okay. Okay. I certainly don't mind pausing for questions. I just want to make sure we're good before I.
We'll wait till you're finished.
So this is another view, this one from the corner of White Plains and Rose, but looking down White Plains. So you can see we are looking to keep the existing sign and stone wall that are out there. And this just gives you a sense of what that netting is going to do. It will stop after the first panel, which is approximately 40 feet down, and then it will drop down to the lower height again. And you can see that the most of the retaining wall really disappears because we're on the upper side of it. You will see some of that 8-foot padding on the other side. This portion, approximately right here, that you can see is the retaining wall that starts to slope down. But we maintain the 8-foot high padding because we do need to provide an outfield fence, and it is foreshortened. So for the safety of the players, we need to provide that. This is looking in the other direction down White Plains. So you can see we're providing some screen plantings between the public right-of-way and the batter's eye. There is existing vegetation there, some kind of naturalized shrub area, which we're hoping to maintain most of it. There will need to be some removal and some tree removal, but we're going to try to maintain as much of that existing vegetation as we can to help
Well,
reinforce.
it looks like you're pretty much putting in trees all the way along White Plains and Rose.
We are, yes.
Okay. Those evergreens or deciduous, or what kind of trees you plant?
Those are primarily deciduous trees. So this next image is not quite as pretty, but wanted to make sure we had an understanding of what this situation was going to be. So to start, this red line is the existing field condition, the approximate slope. And this is White Plains here, and then on the other side of this is Rose Avenue. This is right along first base. So we'll have the field flattened. It will slope towards left field, and we'll have an 8-foot wall with padding. And then at the top of that wall, we will have the post to support the netting. And the netting posts will be only as tall as they need to be, for the netting, but measured from what you'll see from White Plains, it comes to, most of them will be at the 32-foot height along White Plains Road. And then the foul pole as well would be level with the top of the netting posts. So you can see that the padding will be carried along the portion of the slope that we need to have a wall of retaining wall on. So we'll provide some of an 8-foot chain link fence for that portion so that we can attach the padding to it, and then it will go down to a 6-foot chain link fence with 20-foot safety netting above that. Okay. A little more information about the walls, because I know that this is kind of a big deal in many respects. We're looking to use a lock and load retaining wall, which is a segmental block wall, but the way that it's been engineered, it can be nearly vertical, and we're able to integrate the posts and the fence posts right close to the edge of the wall instead of having to set them back and take up more square footage. So these details are in the plan set, and we can enlarge them to look closer if you would like. But the general idea is to show that there's not huge footings associated with the wall. They're relatively light touch in that you provide a gravel base and then build them up from there with some geofabric helping to reinforce. The poles will have some substantial footings, and those will be integrated in the system so that the block will kind of stop at a footing and then start again on the other side of it. So it'll be as seamless as we can make it. And then the padding will be across the front of that. These are a couple images of what that typically looks like, and you can see this one has fall protection fence right along the top, so nice and tucked into the front of the wall. These are some example images of the netting and the windscreens. We wanted to just give a sense for what these look like in real life applications. There had been some questions about those elements. The scoreboard, so you can see where it would be situated from the field. And this is the existing Concordia scoreboard in the building. This is another view of the press box and seating. So in this, you can see the ball field is at its elevation, and then it goes up to a raised platform for the bleachers so that they're sitting up just above field height. And then you have your the seating in front of the press box and then also to either side. The press box itself is open underneath so that it's not as straight vertical down, and we're able to integrate some plantings below it to soften it. So this section shows the press box here from behind. So you have the press box and the seating, and you can see here the fall protection fence. That's what this is. So when you get down to the landing, we provided a ramp that goes up to the seating so that the seating is accessible. There are stations for a wheelchair to be able to park so that folks that are in wheelchairs will actually be able to have a place to be. And that's the bleachers and seating are accessed by the ramp. And then we have a set of stairs which come down to the main walk along that goes out to Rose Avenue. There is an existing walk that connects to the Meyer Center. We will be maintaining that connection, and we're utilizing that to access the bullpens. Okay, so that was a very quick,
So a quick question, are you going to talk about the access for parking? Because I believe the parking's going to be over by Stein Hall and how people get to the seating? Because if I recall, parking will not be allowed on rows, is that correct?
correct, there are some parking spaces on those avenues, so those will still be there. But we are not proposing any additional parking along rows, and even now, it's not permitted for people to park along there, unfortunately.
But you can use the spaces for the games, right?
This-
I mean, I would assume, like, for any other purpose.
But you're going to have people directing them into the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically,
You're going to
will
have
park
people at each game
in
directing
So-
them into the parking lot.
Correct. We're going to have two campus personnel directing traffic. There will also be temporary signage put on Rose Avenue directing no parking, no standing, no drop-offs. Rose Avenue will not be accessible for spectators coming into the game. All access will be directed into the Meyer Center lot, and then Cindy can show you the
So the parking
sidewalk.
is going to be on the third base side, outside, obviously.
Yeah.
outside the field.
Right.
That's at the, where the chapel school or the church is over there too.
So
Well,
the-
Stein Hall's over there.
Stein
And
Hall,
there's another, right.
they share
Stein Hall.
parking.
Oh, and so that's a shared parking space?
Yep.
Okay, okay.
And how do they then access the seating, especially as the game is being played?
So the existing ADA spaces on this site for the Meyer Center are located right here by its entry plaza. We are providing an additional space. Right now, the site needs an additional space to meet code, so we're incorporating that here. And there's an accessible walk that goes from this parking space, and then it also goes from the existing parking spaces. They meet at this corner, and this is an ADA accessible, code compliant walk that gets you all the way over to the seating.
Oh, okay, so that's for a walk or whatever.
There will be
Behind the netting.
ramp at the raised seating itself. Other than that, we're able to do, make it with a sloping walk.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really our issue, but, yeah.
In terms of the lighting that you said is necessary, where is the lighting and how high is it?
Was this one? Yeah, this is the one I wanted. Okay. So we are not doing any field stadium lighting.
Okay.
No. So we are proposing, there are some existing parking pole lights, which you can see an image of what that is here. So there will be 3 of those in this parking area, which are already there, but they're just being relocated a bit. There are 2 pole lights over on this side, which we want to replace. You can see here the existing pole lights. They're pretty old. One of them, the top is canted off to the side. So we want to replace those with just some new fixtures to clean that up. These yellow squares with the blue outline, these are wall fixtures. So they'll be attached to the building, to the press box and dugouts. And they'll provide downcast light to illuminate the walkways and the seating, the press box area, and those will be for ensuring that the accessible route is properly lit and ensuring that the campus security can see these areas so that they'll be able to turn on the lights and ensure that no one's on the seating area in the middle of the night if they need to. So we're about to get to the variances and going through the variances that we're asking for, and I'm realizing the problem with this is I can't read it from that far away. Okay. So
Let's see. You have it. I have it right
Let's
here.
I know. Right? Oh my gosh, Annie, you're the best. Thank you. And they're in order, so this will work quite well. All right. So I did break this up into a couple chunks because it was a bit lengthy. The first set, the front yard setbacks and exception to yard requirements. So I've highlighted the areas where these variances are required. So you can see along Rose Avenue, the dugout along Rose Avenue. So we measured to the corner of the dugout to the property line. So you can see that that is, it's 3'9", not approximate, it's pretty precise, 3'9" off of the property line is the closest corner of that dugout. The press box and spectator seating area, because it's a unit, the press box is over here, but the closest corner of that element is actually right here. So that is where that 1'8" occurs, is at the corner of the spectator seating. And then there's also stairs, which we are providing. So these stairs are to provide a secondary egress. They are not for accessing spectator seating, but they do provide a secondary means of egress if needed, and they also provide another connection to the field as needed. So that set of stairs is another variance request, which these are 2 feet from the property line at their closest corner. Okay. So the next set gets a little bit more colorful because the variance is for linear elements such as the walls. So there are 2 types of the segmental retaining walls. One which are a consistent height and one which slopes down. So the exceptions to yard requirements for front yard fences and walls, the segmented retaining wall type A, which is proposed to be more than half solid. So that is the yellow that you're seeing here. That's the wall that that variance relates to.
And what's the difference between type A and type B? Because it says,
Yep. Yeah, it's
what does that mean? Or is that,
okay. So the 2 types of, well, oh, that was rude of it. So this is type A. So it's a full 8-foot wall. The type B, we slope down. We're sloping down as quickly as we can with the grade to the outside of the field. And we have a chain link fence in front of it to hold the padding in front of it. So it's a slightly different configuration. So in this image, you can see the type B, the one where it slopes, occurs to the 2 sides along right field and then the left outfield going down. The padding at left field fence and home plate backstop. So in this area here and at the backstop, the padding is going to be, excuse me, that's what this variance requires or is pertaining to, and that's for the safety padding for the players, which is more than half solid. Okay, the press box, lock and load retaining wall, windscreen panels. So those refer to the majority of this, really. Yeah, that also pertains to this outer wall. And then there's retaining wall over here as well behind the press box. So that area requires a variance as well. The right field foul pole is located here, and that will require a variance. Okay. The final item on here are these two locations are the tie-back tension netting poles that are behind the press box. So those are the poles that will be there to hold the backstop safety netting. Okay. So this next section, you'll see a lot of the same things are being highlighted, which goes to Annie's point that many of these things kind of overlap. Many of these variances overlap. So the location of accessory buildings, we need a variance for the items, the site elements that are listed because the requirement is that they are behind the principal building and they are all in front of the principal building. So I'm not going to go through this entire list on that, but.
There were 11 or 12 of them, and
There were a
we
few.
understand.
But again, the principal building here is the gym, correct?
Yes, in Meyer Center.
The Meyer Center.
Yeah.
Right, because this is a zone
It's
for
really a
residential.
residential issue. It's not.
This is a residential issue, right?
Yeah, it's a non-conforming use,
Right.
but it's also an existing use. Oh, did I misspeak? I apologize.
It is a conforming use in the Residence A district, schools and accessory school
Right.
facilities are permitted. But I think the issue here is that the Residence A district or some other districts don't necessarily contemplate accessory structures in the front yard. You wouldn't want that in front of your
It'd
house.
be like having these things in your front yard.
Right, exactly. So that's the issue here because the location of the Meyer Center on the lot and where the existing baseball field is, all of these things are in front of it.
Right. No,
Yep.
That makes sense.
Well, that takes care of 12 of them.
Okay, so I apologize for
Yeah,
misspeaking.
you don't need to go through all
Conforming
the
use.
site elements. We've read those.
And then the location of buildings or part thereof relative to any street line. So there was a question earlier about the distance from sidewalk and along Rose Ave to the property line or, what was being measured to. So these variances require or look at that actual street line, not the property line. So it's the same elements, there's no new elements to highlight from what you see here. It's all the same stuff. It's just being measured from the street line instead of the property line, so it's a slightly different set of variances.
Right, and the requirement is 50 feet. That's the code?
Yes.
Okay, and we're talking about Rose Avenue?
Yeah.
Okay,
And there are a lot of these that have existing nonconformities, but we are bringing in a couple of new elements that do not already exist in some form, so those would be new.
got it.
And that's actually the end of the list of variances, so helps if you don't go through one by one. Happy to, if you have questions about any of the items that you saw on the variance table, I'd be happy to take a closer look at those.
What's the height of the foul poles?
The foul poles are, I'm actually going to
It
double
says
check
here-
my paperwork on that because I don't want to misspeak again. So if you'll excuse me just a moment. So in the left field, the foul pole will be 42-foot height, and in the right field, it'll be 30 foot. And the difference is because the field elevation changes, and we want them to be a consistent height as seen from home plate.
So does that conclude your
Yeah.
Iona's presentation?
It does. It does, unless you would like more.
No, I think before I think we're going to open it up to the public.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that now. But again, any you folks want to weigh in, but let's open it
Yeah, I
to
think
the
we've
public.
asked
And
most of our questions, yeah.
and if you please would come up to the microphone and introduce yourself and speak into the microphone so we can hear you.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Axelbaum, and I live at 2 McKinley Street at the corner of White Plains Road. I'm across the soccer field and opposite from this baseball field. I have 2 young sons who attend Tuckahoe schools and study at Concordia Conservatory. My husband and I also chaired this year's Conservatory Gala fundraiser, and we are deeply committed to this community and to the music school, which is a staple of our neighborhood. We have lived in Tuckahoe for over 7 years. At first, I was happy to hear that the baseball field would be renovated, but when I saw the extent of the plans, the impact it would have on the neighborhood and safety, and the lack of working in good faith with the community, I grew concerned. From reviewing the plans, it is clear that a significant amount of activity is being pushed towards Rose Avenue, much closer to the street than was typically permitted. It will also affect the White Plains Road frontage, which is part of the daily environment my family experiences as nearby residents. Excuse me. What is especially concerning is the number and concentration of variances in this one area, many reducing setbacks from 30 feet to just a few feet or even to the property line. Additionally, the danger presented at the intersection of Rose Avenue and White Plains Road cannot be understated. It is the route for many residents, including my young children, to the Tuckahoe schools, and it is already hazardous to pedestrians. The current proposed sidewalk, as you mentioned earlier, doesn't extend to White Plains Road, which is the most dangerous part. In addition, half the sidewalk that was shown is going to be behind the fence. Similar to the soccer field, we can't access the sidewalk, so we have no flat ground to walk on. It's especially dangerous for strollers and for wheelchairs, whose only option is currently being in the street, where cars are already regularly dangerously taking that corner. If we add the practice time and the visitation to the baseball field, that only increases the traffic with no way to keep it more safe. I'm also concerned how this construction will affect parking, which already flows across the street into our neighborhood. So it's great that they don't want to use that Rose Avenue, but that just means people go right across the street and park in front of our houses, and our driveways only take 1 car, so we really need that space. In addition, we're concerned about sound, the overall character of the neighborhood, and importantly, this is regularly scheduled activity that's tied to games and events, and there's insufficient regulations or guarantees for us in the neighborhood about how and when the field will be used. I'm sure that there is a solution that we can all feel good about, and that actually takes the needs of the neighborhood into consideration. This plan just isn't there yet. I respectfully ask the board to carefully consider both the proximity and scale of these variances and the real day-to-day impact that will have on families and the surrounding community, and not approve this plan tonight. Thank you.
Hi, Jim Dvorstep at 45 North Road in Bronxville. I guess, I do think that Iona has done a good job listening to a lot of the community's concerns over last year. My one issue is I raised in a previous board meeting about like the flood mitigation. And I understand that they are taking some steps to address that, but I think it should be looked at holistically. And I guess my question is like, what's the plan for the rest of the property, for the softball field, et cetera? And how does that tie in here? So I would like some clarity on just what the rest of the property is going to look like, 5, 10 years down the line. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Hussein, and my child's a piano student at the conservatory. I'd like to speak specifically about the role of sound in music education. Learning music requires the ability to hear clearly, to distinguish tone, pitch, and subtle differences in sound. Even moderate noise, especially sudden or amplified noise, makes it very difficult for a student to focus and develop properly. This isn't background noise, it directly impacts learning. The Village Code recognizes this by protecting institutions of learning from noise that interferes with their operations. I'm here just to respectfully ask that any approval of this project ensures that sound impacts are fully studied and addressed so that students like my child can continue to learn and grow in the environment they need. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gretchen Good-Pingle. I've been living in Bronxville for many years, 20 years, more than that, and equally amount of time as a Concordia parent. A couple things. I'm also part of a group that was instrumental in getting a recent crosswalk across Route 22 a few years ago, and it took a long time to do, but I'm part of a group that really wants to make Bronxville pedestrian friendly. So I was quite upset to see in the plan all across White Plains Road that there's no space for a sidewalk there, and of course along Rose Avenue as well. And the number of variances, I guess, are directly the reason why there's not ability for a sidewalk there. So that's something I'm concerned about. I also think that obviously a lot of time has been spent on making the landscape and everything, but it is definitely not in character with the rest of the village. It's much more urban, and sort of regularly planted trees take away from the kind of bucolic nature of the area. And obviously maybe that could be worked on, but the whole sidewalk issue is really big. Not to mention that Concordia looks like a tiny little island there with a new parking lot adjacent with no buffer zone, and the noise that's going to be augmented from people coming in and out of their cars and hurrah, hurrah, or, you know, whatever. I'm all for sports, but I just feel like there's a jewel of an institution in this community that our children have grown up in and continue to. I still have a son, a special needs son, who sings twice a week at Concordia, and he walks there and he needs sidewalks. And the sound, there needs to be some protection of this institution when this whole plan is formalized. I don't know if this is the last ditch effort here or not, but we need to protect the Concordia Conservatory. Thank you.
Hello, Susan Salerno. I live on Orchard Place. I've attended several of the planning board meetings, and at one of them, I'm quite sure I remember somebody from Iona saying that typically there are only about 20 spectators who come to these kinds of games. And today we're hearing there would be about 87 as an average. That's the 350% increase. It's a lot of cars, and I don't think there's sufficient parking. I hear now, I know that they park along where I am, and now I hear other places as well. And I'm afraid with this increased attendance, they will continue, or the parking on both sides of 22 will only expand down to the residential areas, Greenfield, Woodland, Orchard, Tanglewild. It's inappropriate for residential area. I'm also concerned about the noise levels, which can travel, obviously, as you know. We already hear them sometimes, and this will just really increase. And I just don't think it's appropriate for residential area, and I hope you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Joseph Farisi. I live at 5 Hobart Street. I've been a resident in Bronxville now going on almost 3 years. I don't see in any way, shape, or form how this benefits the community. It just makes absolutely no sense. When I look at these plans, what are the guarantees of parking? Where are all these people going to park their cars? I hope not on Hobart Street. And is it up to you? Your obligation is to the Bronxville residents, not to Iona. If I was 40 years younger, I'd probably want a really good baseball field to play. But that's not the case. They've got plenty of options to find a place that's suitable for their baseball team. Have we talked about 87 spectators coming to games? What happens if the MAC conference wants to host the baseball season-ending tournament there? Does 87 now become 500? What guarantees do the residents of Bronxville have that this facility, once it's in place, will not be used for tournaments, showcases, lacrosse tournaments? White Plains can't handle that kind of traffic. Hobart Street can't, McKinley can't, North can't, Tanglewild can't. How are we going to stop them or prevent them? What guarantees do we have that Iona will abide by all these rules to make the residents safe? The number one obligation of this board. And frankly, I am ashamed of myself to some degree that I haven't been to the planning board meeting because I didn't know. I don't know how it got to this point because it just on the surface makes no sense. I believe it's Ms. Regan used it in the prior applicant's case where we want to maintain the character of the community. We wouldn't let a family of 4 put a dormer on to allow them to have a little extra space in the attic so their kids could have room to watch TV. It's their house. Watch TV, have an office, work, and have your children next to you. And that was turned down because we didn't want to ruin the aesthetic or the character of the community of Bronxville. How in the world does that press box and this project make the character of Bronxville and richer? How does it help? What does it do? It adds traffic, it adds safety concerns. What's the security plan for Iona on the weekends if it's not going to be used? Now you have a nice facility. Our people from all over the Westchester can come and utilize the facility, play soccer, just walk on the field. Sure, there's a chain link fence. Anybody can get through that. How are we going to stop that? Have all these considerations been taken into account? And is this part of your decision-making process? Plans look great. They did a ton of work on it. That doesn't do the community any good. These other issues are way more important. How are we going to stop 80 from going to 300 to go to a game? How are we going to stop 2 years from now when they want to come in and put lights? Because their baseball program has grown and become successful, and I hope it does. Be great for the overall area. Love to bring my children to a game, not in my backyard. How are you going to stop that? At what point do we put in the right infrastructure, the right plan, the right rules that they cannot destroy the community, ruin what is so special and such a beautiful place to live, and keep chipping away at it for this? Like I said, I would love a great baseball field if I was 18. I'm not. I live in the real world now. There's plenty of places that they can improve and they can find to put in the resources to make it a much better facility for the team and the players. And I, as all due respect to the coach, I'm sure he's tracked 1,000 baseballs. The difference between a Division I baseball player and the people who have been playing at that field in the last 20 years is night and day. There's no way those fences protect the community, protect people and the spectators. Yeah, you can stop a line drive. How are you going to stop foul balls going over the fence? And if somebody's walking on the street? So that study of the arc is imperative. It has to be done because you can't ensure that the community is safe if in fact somebody hits a screaming line drive. I'm sure somebody up there has played baseball, and you know the difference between a practice throwing someone from a bullpen from in front of a screen and in a real game. It's night and day. And when you have Division I players like you do today who play at the level they play at, it's another consideration that I'm going to go out on a limb and say hasn't been thought of yet. And that's a big one for everybody who lives in this community. The more I stand here, the more I'm sure I could go on. If I was involved in this earlier, I'm sure I would have even more to say. But your obligation as a board is to the Bronxville residents, not to Iona, and all due respect to Iona. They are not your constituents. We are. You have to protect us, our interests. Are we going to make Hobart Street a no parking street? Are we going to do the same for McKinley? How are we going to handle all those types of things? I don't know if you can just make a vote tonight and rubber stamp this. I think there's a lot of other issues that have to be taken into account. And if you postpone this and make them come back to address other issues, we probably get to a better place as a community. Then I'll end it there.
Good evening. My name is John Redmond. My wife Renee was going to be doing this, but she got sick, so here I am. My family has deep roots in music. Our child attended the conservatory since he was age 7 on through 18, went on to Juilliard and got his master's, his bachelor's and master's in composition there. My brother-in-law is a Grammy Award-winning musician, John Patitucci. That said, I share that because I understand at a very real level what it takes to develop as a musician. Music education depends not just on sound, but on the ability to hear clearly without interference. Our child studied at the conservatory while Concordia College had an active baseball field, and that was not disruptive because there was no amplified sound. But with the addition of amplified announcements and music, it will be completely disruptive. And here we are not talking about occasional disruption, but repeated structured noise events very close to the conservatory. The village codes 210-7 and 210-8 recognize this by protecting institutions of learning from interference. I would simply ask that this board uphold that principle and ensure that what has helped generations of young musicians thrive is not compromised. Thank you for your time.
Can you hear me? Hi. I'm Carolyn Moriarty. I'm board member of Concordia Conservatory and also a neighbor who lives very, very close to the campus. So I have two concerns here. Primarily noise, and I think that that's all of the neighbors are sharing that, and the conservatory is sharing that. The conservatory has served the community, providing music education to over 1,000 students, including neurodiverse individuals, public school partnerships, and families from across the region. Our work depends on something very simple but essential, an acoustically controlled environment. We can't teach without it. The village code is very explicit on this. Noise may not interfere with the operations of institutions of learning. Yet the current application, which includes numerous and substantial variances, does not demonstrate how that standard will be met, particularly with respect to amplified sound. Crowd noise and proximity to the facility is also a concern. It's not a theoretical concern. It's a direct operational concern. You've heard tonight about potential impacts related to proximity, noise, and the number of variants requested. Rather than speculate about a construction solution, we're prepared to fund an independent acoustic study by a very well-known firm, Cerami & Associates, to objectively evaluate the sound impact of the project, both during construction and during operation. As discussed in our February 2nd meeting with Iona University, the prior study by Kavanaugh Tochi was inconclusive, and Iona's Senior Vice President of Facilities and Campus Operations, Michael Schermiglio, acknowledged that there were discrepancies. A new study would provide clear data, a shared understanding, and a path toward mitigation. It would also ensure alignment with the village code, which states, and I'm going to read it, "No person shall make or cause to be made any unreasonable, loud, or unusual noise which annoys, disturbs, or endangers the comfort, repose, health, or safety of others." Why have we not talked about noise? I would think noise variances will be required in this project. So that's a discussion that we should have. So we are asking for a formal acoustic study. We are willing to finance it, and enforceable productions based on the conclusions of that study should ensure compliance with the village code. This is a reasonable, practical step that protects all parties, the village, Iona, and the conservatory. Thank you.
Good evening, one and all. I'm Kathleen Suss, the Executive Director at Concordia Conservatory. I want to make it very clear. We support improvements to the campus and the baseball field, and we appreciate the continued assurances from Iona's representatives to make every effort to minimize the disruption to the conservatory's operations. In fact, following our February 2nd meeting with the Iona representatives, we worked in good faith with our council, Peter Frisch, Paul Weiss, and our board members to develop a memorandum of understanding. This document outlined practical measures to ensure safety, access, and protection from noise and disruption, and we all agreed at that meeting to support the project contingent upon those protections being in place. Unfortunately, we were subsequently notified by General Counsel Susan Fiore that the letter dated February 27th that Iona University declines to enter into a memo of understanding with Concordia Conservatory. Finally, we respectfully ask the Zoning Board of Appeals to play its critical role in safeguarding the health, safety, and welfare of the community. As outlined in the application's materials, this project requires numerous variances, and with that comes the responsibility to ensure that neighboring uses are not adversely impacted, not only in the coming years, but for decades to come. A strong, respectful community depends on thoughtful decisions like yours. Thank you.
How you doing? Bill Carney. I live at 101 Middleton Place. It's directly across from the softball fields, and I've lived there for 20 years. In theory, I'm okay with them renovating the baseball field. I think, it's kind of dilapidated now, so I think improvement is needed. But the main issue that I have is really traffic and parking on Rose. And I was a little concerned earlier, or confused earlier, when somebody said there isn't going to be an entrance on Rose Avenue. There, in their drawings, there's a sidewalk that leads to a gate that they have people entering the gate and walking upstairs to access the seating. So there definitely seems to be an entrance on Rose. Currently, Rose is the main entrance to Bronxville Manor. It's also where all the buses for Tuckahoe schools go down. So it's a ton of traffic every single day down there. And currently there are about 25 spots, as you guys mentioned, on Rose Avenue. It's currently adjacent to the turf field, and that's mainly where people for the turf field park. But since Iona had renovated the turf field about 5 or 6 years ago, the parking has absolutely gotten worse. People constantly double park. They illegally park on that road. And when Iona was in front of the Tuckahoe Planning Board for that field, they said, we will have 2 attendants at every event directing people. Guess what? There was nobody ever there. There are constantly people, and I can send you videos of people double parked, triple parked, illegally parked. I know they mentioned they're going to have signs that say no drop off, no parking. There are already signs there that say no parking, no drop off. People constantly park there. So, it's been an issue for a while. Currently, there's no entrance to the field on Rose. There's a chain link fence. It's where people stand to kind of watch. But when you put up the seating there, that will be eliminated. You won't be able to really watch from Rose. So I'm not sure why we need to have an access on Rose Avenue. If you have an access point on Rose Avenue, you're only encouraging people to stop and drop off or double park there. And if you eliminate that entrance, guess what? People aren't going to drop off there or double park there. If the only entrance is where the parking is for the Meyer Center, where there is plentiful parking, I think there's well over 100 spots there, you're going to eliminate a lot of traffic on Rose, and you're going to eliminate people parking on McKinley and Hobart because there's no access point. The only access point is on Iona's campus by the Meyer Athletics Center. So I'm not sure, this isn't a public field that the neighbors are going to be able to access and play on. It's a field that is strictly going to be used by or rented out by Iona. So I'm not sure why the neighborhood has to bear the burden of the increased traffic. If you only have the access point at Meyer, that's the only place people are going to park. Nobody's going to want to drop off on Rose because they'd have to walk all the way around. So again, I don't know why you would need an access point on Rose. Nobody has given me a good answer as to why that's needed. You know, again, I'm fine with them renovating it, but they should really bear the burden of the parking. They have sufficient parking out in front of the Meyer Center, and they're putting in a whole new access point there. That should really be the only access point. Nobody from the public is going to access it. There's no reason to have any entrance on Rose. So if you do approve it, I really ask you to, you know, close off that entrance, and that'll alleviate a lot of the issues that people have brought up with people double parking because they don't know where to get in. The only entrance should be on their campus. Thank you.
Somebody from Iona just addressed that question, that concern.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize if I wasn't clear on that point, but the main parking for this facility is going to be at the Meyer Center parking, and that is where we will have our primary access walk. The access off of Rose, this is to connect the dugout for the away team down to the bullpens, because if we don't have a walk connecting this dugout around to the bullpens, then they'll need to cross the field, and that's a problematic situation. So that was the impetus for us generating this connection. We do have gates at each of these connection points, which will be lockable, so the players will be able to get through as needed, but they're not going to be access points, and there will be no drop-off location along Rose Avenue. Another reason for this particular connection is that there is currently a walk that connects to an entry here, which is utilized by the tennis facility that's housed in this portion of the building, and we're maintaining that connection for them. Then again, it will be gated, and the gates will be locked and controlled so that it's not something that can be used for drop-off along roads.
Okay, so there is that current walkway, as you mentioned, for the tennis center. Since Iona has taken over, they have chain locked that entrance. So there's no more entrance to the tennis center through that walkway. Everybody who accesses the tennis center has to park in Meyer. So are you saying that that entrance will be chain locked for, he's shaking his head, so it's not going to be chain locked. So there will be an entrance to the field that people, the public, people can drop off.
No. I'm sorry, Mike, would you like to speak to this?
Yep.
So will that entrance be locked for when it's being used?
Correct. That will be locked when it's being used. And one of our attendants will unlock it and lock it every time a pitcher has to leave the dugout and go into the bullpen.
So they're going to have to, I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand. So there's a fence and the dugout is in the field, right? On the other side of the fence.
Correct.
So you're saying that somebody's going to have to leave the dugout, walk outside that fence, walk down Rose Avenue, and then walk in through the gate to get to the bullpen?
Yes, we said that from the beginning as well.
So why wouldn't you just maintain that access within the field and not on the other side of the chain link fence? I don't understand why somebody has to walk out of the field down Rose Avenue.
Are you saying walk on the inside of the field?
Yeah, not on the inside of the field, but just on the inside of the chain link fence on Rose Avenue.
So, no, there's not enough room, and we did consider taking the walk and pulling it away from Rose Avenue, but by keeping it along the road, we're able to have some plantings and at least a little bit of grading to help soften those that area. So there is not enough room between the property line and the facility to provide this walk.
So is the chain link fence, so you have the dugout. So you're saying is the chain link fence going to be right behind the dugout? There's no space between the back of the dugout and the chain link fence?
The chain link fence starts at the front left corner of the dugout.
Okay.
I apologize, this is going to be a little bit small.
No, you can zoom in. It was
So
good.
The chain link fence kind of starts right here at the front on the field side and comes off the corner and then goes up. So when you come out of the dugout, you'll be going from the dugout directly through a door in the dugout. The same as you do on this dugout, there will be a door that the players exit from the side.
Yep.
So they'll exit that door from the dugout and go down the sloped walk and then navigate down Rose Avenue. We're providing the sidewalk so that they're not on Rose Avenue. We're trying to mitigate that and make it as safe as we can.
I mean, I'm no architect, but I would imagine that an architect can probably find a way that the pitcher doesn't have to walk out onto Rose Avenue so that it can all be confined within. Like, it seems like a lot of work. You're putting in 2 gates to have 3 pitching changes a game. Like,
I would love nothing more than to eliminate that.
Yeah.
Because the funds that we're spending on that, the extra drainage are beyond what we anticipated on spending for the entire project. I would love to mitigate and remove some of the sidewalk, but we can't, because that was built with accessibility in mind as well. It sounds counterintuitive, because if you're pitching in a baseball game, you may not have a disability.
Yeah.
But we had to design to those standards.
but those gates will not, so what you're saying is those gates will not be used for spectators at all to enter the field.
They will not.
Okay. I hope that's a.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
I know I already spoke.
Didn't you already speak?
I just wanted to know, is anyone from Iona here prepared to address the noise question? Because I haven't heard any answers about that.
Well, can I just say, I believe, Kevin, that is a planning board. That is not a variance, so we will not be discussing it tonight. Now, remember this, anything that gets decided has to go back to planning board if this is approved. And that would be where you would take that up. Okay, thank you.
Our understanding is parking, sound, traffic, and flooding are not our issues. You're talking about area variances, setbacks, and right-of-way variances, that sort of thing is what we're talking about.
So, could you introduce yourself, please?
George Eunice, resident on Edgewood Lane, about a block away from all of this for 48 years. When we moved in, Concordia had a baseball field that was very nice to have around, but has become very dilapidated, as has the entire Concordia campus. Along comes Iona and has done a magnificent job. And they should be congratulated, and we should be very grateful to Iona for what they've done. I understand why there's a lot of concern about modernizing the baseball field. Why don't we think about our alternatives? Would you all rather see housing development there, or would you rather see an extended care facility with ambulances going in and out 24/7? Or something else, God knows? Or would you rather see open space with young people playing baseball? The season is very short in the Northeast. We survived, in my time, 48 years of Concordia baseball. And we can survive another 48 years of Iona baseball. And hopefully they'll be more successful, Coach. But I understand also tenant privilege and attention to tenants and the Concordia Conservancy. My grandson went to the Concordia Conservancy. We've been fans of the Concordia Conservancy. We should be very careful with interfering with the work of the Concordia Conservancy. However, the way tenants have rights, the landlords have to protect their investment. And if it really gets awful for the Conservancy, you know, they could go to other places. They really could. We don't want them to go. Nobody wants them to go. But I have a feeling that the way Iona operates, they'll take care of the Conservancy in a very civilized, very fair manner. And I think it would be a shame to scrap this project over nitpicking. I think it's, when you look at the condition of the present field, it really needs work. And if you look upon this really objectively, what is Iona doing? They're putting a lot of money, I don't even want to know how much, into a dilapidated, ugly, terrible field and making it something really nice that we can all be proud of. And maybe even decide to become Iona baseball fans. So at the risk of offering the minority opinion, I urge you to continue the approval of this process. And let's iron out the questions with the noise and the parking. All of that, I think, can all be ironed out. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there are no more comments, questions, okay. Okay, could you introduce yourself and please speak into the mic?
Hi, my name is Gina Najito Lander, and I live at 2 Hobart Street. So I am heavily impacted by this, living directly across the street from the outfield. Now, I actually did not realize it would be a different board tonight, so I didn't realize I'd be speaking to a whole group of new board members. So in one of the last meetings, I reiterated that in our backyard, we have had many fly balls land in our backyard where my 4-year-old plays in his play yard, his swing set. My dog is back there. She has ingested baseballs, and we've had to deal with the repercussions of that, not to get graphic. And I'm concerned with the height of the netting that is proposed. If they are lowering the field to level it, and they are adding the netting beyond that, how much higher than where it is right now will it actually be? Because we now have only used it as a practice field with far less athletic players than D1 players. And so this is going to continue, if not the velocity and the danger is only going to increase with new players at the field. So if you have measured 40 feet at the new level, how does that change from where the existing height is now? I'm just curious because I know that these balls existing, they already, for the last 10 years that we've been living in Bronxville, have landed in the backyard. And so I'm just concerned with the height.
So could Iona answer that question?
Yes, so the home plate elevation is staying pretty close to where it is right now. So rounding off, not getting into inches. But so there's a 20-foot fence there now along that portion of the outfield. So by leveling the field, we would, in essence, be making that fence 8 foot higher, 20 feet.
From ground level?
Yes, but pause. Just
okay.
Bear with me, please.
Sorry, no, that's fine.
So from home plate, the existing fence is in effect 28 feet high from home plate. We're going to be making it 45 feet high along that portion of the outfield, and then 40 feet high from home plate for the majority of it.
But how high is it from White Plains Road? The height from the road, not from the field.
32 feet.
32.
Well, this and then this one.
10, right?
So from White Plains Road, because that's up higher.
Yes.
So you have the 8-foot wall, and then you have 32 feet to the top of the safety netting pole. Now, I think that this was to the standard 40, and it would actually be 37 with the 45
You're lowering the field.
addition.
Leveling the field.
Right.
So that brings
Yeah.
the field down.
Yeah, so the field goes down, but the road does stay the same. So right now at White Plains, you're seeing,
We know.
not that ambitious. So from White Plains Road, you're currently seeing the 20 feet. You will be seeing 32 feet for the majority of it and 37 feet for the portion immediately at the end of the first baseline.
Could that be increased?
That's a weighted question. I mean, technically anything can be built, but it becomes an issue of structural buildability and also the assessment that we have, which indicates that, based on typical field conditions, what our experts understand, what the safety netting folks recommend, like all these indicators telling us that this is going to catch the majority. If not, I can't say it will catch all, but we anticipate that this will reduce the number of baseballs, at the very least, reduce the number that go over that.
Okay. I also just want to mention that Hobart Street alone has 28 children. It's a very short block, and we have 28 children that continually walk along White Plains Road, and they do cross the road to get to the fields or to get to a Concordia Conservatory, which my family does as well. And the idea that a ball could fly onto oncoming cars on White Plains Road, onto the sidewalk, into my backyard is the safety concern that I have. And I hope that can be addressed. If that means putting a row of dense, not just a few trees, deciduous trees, but if you can put a row of dense hedging, which would be in line with the community and the beautification of Bronxville and what most homes do for protection, and on both sides, White Plains side, on the east side and the west side as well, if that could be a consideration, that would be greatly appreciated. That is all. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so if done with public comment, I want to just turn to my board members to see if there are any more questions, comments for Iona before I make a resolution. Oh, okay. Okay. So just one thing, just for clarification, we're voting tonight. We'll see how it comes out, but if it is approved, this has to go back to planning. I think everyone knows that. So a number of the issues that came up, we're not voting on tonight. You've raised them, but just as a reminder that the process, if it is approved tonight, will need to go back to planning for approval. Okay, so let me propose a resolution by the Zoning Board of Appeals that grants to Iona University the following variances. Now, bear with me on these because it's Iona's already walked you through them, but let me repeat them. First is the front yard setback, section 310-10.D1 and 310-3. Two of the items, dugout along Rose Avenue and press box and spectator seating required to be 30 feet to the property line. The proposed is 3'8" for the dugout and 1'8" for the press box and spectator seating. Next, section 310-10.D4. This is concerning paved terraces, steps, and walks. So the stairs at the dugout along Rose Avenue, which we saw, required is 4 feet to the property line, proposed is 2 feet. Next, section 310-10.D4. This is regarding front yard fences and walls. Again, this is tied to residential because this is deemed a residential lot. So the following items are proposing a more than 1/2 solid wall. Requirement is less than 1/2 solid. Think picket fence. The following items are the retaining wall type A, retaining wall type B, padding at left field fence, home plate, backstop, press box, lock and load, retaining wall, and the windscreen panels, along with the right field foul pole. All of those are proposed as more than 1/2 solid. Next, section 310-10.B and 310-8.A3A. This is in connection with the poles that are holding up the netting. Required maximum is 42 feet. The proposed is 48 feet, plus or minus, it depends on the area. But again, that was proposal for safety considerations. Next variance is section 310-10.D5. This is what Iona was discussing earlier, that these various improvements have to be per the code behind the principal building. This is behind the gym. Think residential. So these items I'm going to list are going to be in front of the principal building because obviously that's where the baseball field is. And so this would include the dugout along Rose Avenue, press box, spectator seating, lock and land wall, backstop at home plate, scoreboard, outfield fencing, 8-foot CLF and double gate at bullpen, and 8-foot CLF at left field, retaining wall, which we talked about before, type A, and the type B retaining wall, the poles that are holding up the netting, and then we have the foul pole for both right and left field. All of those are proposed, obviously, to be in front of the Meyer Center. Last one is section 310-8.A3. Again, this is, as Iona walked us through this, this is a requirement that these following items be set back 50 feet from Rose Avenue, again, due to the permitted code. So each of these I'll mention separately because the proposals are slightly different in terms of the situation. Dugout along Rose Avenue would be 16 feet, 11 inches to Rose Avenue. The press box, spectator seating, shed, 15 feet, 8 inches. Poles in the netting, 17.6 inches to Rose Avenue. Backstop, integrated padding, 31.5 feet, Rose Avenue. Outfield fencing and safety netting, that is 25 feet, 2 inches to Rose Avenue. 8 feet CLF and double gate at the bullpen, 35 feet, 6 inches to Rose Avenue. Then we have the retaining wall type A and type B. Type A is 15.8 inches to Rose Avenue. The type B wall is 29, 6 inches to Rose Avenue. And then last is the foul pole in right field, 34 feet, 3 inches to Rose Avenue. So let me start with you, Marty. What are your thoughts?
First off, someone who lives near Bronxville School, I appreciate the noise issue. It's not our concern here at the zoning board, or at least there's not a variance that's being proposed for approval here. So very sympathetic to that, very sympathetic to conservatory. In terms of the history of this location, I have to look at two things. Number one, is it substantially different than what has been there already? And the second is what has Iona done with the planning board to protect safety for the residents in the area? And I feel as though they've been responsive. I actually measured out from the foul pole to the 6-foot fence on Hobart. I think it may be 2 Hobart. So it's like a 340 feet. The elevation is another 10 feet, and then you've got obviously the fence, but that would be about, I use ChatGPT, that's about a 360-foot shot, which is possible, but probably infrequent. We get lacrosse balls all the time across Midland Avenue, and obviously there's some risk whenever you have a sporting event in an area. But I do feel as though what they've prevented is the substantial risk of people getting hit by a ball, and that's the biggest issue. The other issue I had is, could somebody fall off the bleachers and end up on Rose Avenue, get run over? Or the school buses, which are a higher height than obviously cars going by, and is that 20-foot fence adequate? And I think it is. As I've actually been over there 3 or 4 times to try and figure out the risk factors, and so I would approve, and obviously solidifying the walls around is a natural and safe thing to do, as opposed to our typical front yard. If you should have less than a 50% solid fence. Here the situation is completely different than somebody putting a fence in front of their house. So as it relates to these particular variances, I would approve them. The other issues like parking, noise are addressed by the planning board to the satisfaction of the community.
Thank you, Marty. John, your thoughts?
Similar to what Martin said, I understand the concerns you have dealing especially with the noise, parking, traffic. Again, I think that is for the planning board. Variances that Iona is seeking, to me, per se, are not that substantial based on the usage that's been there for many years. And having said that, I don't see an adverse or effect or impact based on the variances that they're seeking. Noise, parking, and traffic is an issue with those, and that should be taken up with the plan. Based on what we're here to address, I'm in favor of the variance.
Janie, your thoughts?
I agree with both my colleagues here that the benefit detriment test in this case goes in favor of Iona. I don't think it's detrimental either. I think what we've done, they've done a lot of things to already mitigate the problems, and I think they'll continue to meet with you guys. The planning board will, and talk. Iona seems like it's done a wonderful job so far of trying to communicate. We understand. And there's 20 games a year, so always keep that in mind too. It's not throughout the year a lot. So some of these things that will be concerns, we're not covering them, but I think for all of you people who are concerned with the noise and the traffic, remember it's a certain amount of days a year, and I think Iona's going to do what they can to help that up. So I don't consider these substantial either, because most of these are already here. Almost all of these were non-conforming already. It's not a residential building. You don't have to be concerned with the solid fence or anything like that. So almost every one of these has been there already. So yeah, I'm in favor of it. And I think Dr. Eunice said it's true. I think they've done a beautiful job in what they're going to do to improve our communities. There's a lot of things that taking up that space, and I think it's
Charlie?
Okay. I just want a couple of comments. We've spent a lot of time, and all of you have spent a lot of time. We've spent a lot of time. We'll spend a lot of money on this. This has been one of the most contentious issues you've dealt with, and even more so for the planning board. They aren't finished yet. But a couple of things I've heard tonight. First of all, Iona is a member of the Bronxville community and an entity that we need to consider, because Iona contributes significantly to the Bronxville community. Most importantly, so I've heard tonight, in hosting the Conservancy. And you know, that I believe is a tenancy at will. There may be a lease, I don't know, but so that's something that definitely contributes to the community. So I do think that, yes, we need to consider the residents and all of that, but we also need to consider Iona's needs as well. Most of the issues, and you've heard this from everyone tonight, because this was the first thing that we thought of when we heard the public comment, most of these issues that are causing public concern are planning board issues. They're not zoning board issues. We don't deal with sound, we don't deal with parking, traffic, flooding, indirectly maybe traffic, or flooding. Any of those issues are issues that I believe the planning board is not finished with. They have to finalize their approvals. So you can certainly go back to the planning board and address those issues. We have to consider only the issues that are before us, okay? And a lot of these zoning variances that are being sought are directly related to the code being directed toward residential, okay? And this is not a residential problem. So there were, as we discussed earlier, there were 11 variances that are sought because the various elements of this field can't be placed under the code in the front of the main building. Well, that's because in a residential lot, you wouldn't want a foul pole or a dugout or a press box in front of your house, or a playset. We've had that. So really, my feeling is that when you consider all of the 4 or 5 elements that we have to consider, the undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, well, as Dr. Yunus said, it's bad now, it's going to get better. Yes, they're asking for bigger. It will, you know, there are benefits here. So given all of that, I am voting in favor of the variances for the reasons I've stated.
And I concur with my colleagues here. And again, I'm maybe being somewhat repetitive, but we do look at these 5 determinants. It was in the application. We consider them all carefully. So for example, we don't see an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. We don't see these specific variances as substantial and so forth. So I agree with my colleagues. That looks like we are unanimous approval of these variances. I would ask that our village council, which is represented by Jim Stout over here, if he could assist the village in preparing a summary of tonight's meeting and the vote. A motion to approve. Okay, could we have a motion to approve all the variances?
Yes, I would so move.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Anything else, Jim? Okay. All right. Thank you all for attending, and that concludes tonight's meeting.